Let me tell you something that will make you feel profoundly uneasy in that comfortable, ergonomic office chair of yours. The one you didn't even pay for, by the way. It was paid for by the person who owns your time from 9 to 6. You think you're a free person living in a free world, making free decisions? That is the sweetest and most dangerous illusion your brain generates to protect you from a nervous breakdown. In reality, from the perspective of cold, ruthless economics, you're not a person. You are an asset. But the problem is, you're an asset that doesn't own itself. You are an asset for rent. Every morning when your alarm goes off, a transaction occurs. You wake up, put on a suit or a uniform, and sell hours of your one and only unique, irreplaceable life in exchange for paper. You think that's a career? You think that's a path to success? I look at it and see the most primitive form of economic dependency humanity has invented since the abolition of shackles. It's slavery with a lunch break and the privilege of choosing the color of your collar. Have you ever wondered why, despite all your efforts, despite the professional courses and the overtime, you feel this constant background anxiety? That's not paranoia. That's your intuition screaming at you that your financial model is broken at its very foundation. You've built your life on the principle of a water faucet. As long as you stand at the sink and turn the handle with your own hands, the water flows. You have money for food, for the mortgage, for a vacation once a year. But the second you take your hand away, the second you get sick, tired, burned out, or simply want to live for yourself, the flow stops instantly. The water stops running, and you begin to die of thirst. You have created a system that requires your physical presence for its very existence. You call it a stable job, but in the language of investment, it's called active income with zero terminal value. The very second you stop working, your market value drops to zero. You have created nothing that can live without you. And here is the twist that should pull the rug out from under you. Do you think rich people work harder than you? Do you think that I, at 99 years old, get up at 5 a.m. to turn the handle faster? That's ridiculous. If wealth depended on hard work, the richest people on the planet would be coal miners and dock workers. But they aren't rich. They are worn out. Why? Because they are playing a game that is impossible to win. They are selling time. And time is the only resource that is strictly and uncompromisingly finite. You cannot sell more than 24 hours a day, even if you never sleep. Your income has a mathematical ceiling, and that ceiling is crushing you even if you don't notice it. Rich people aren't looking for ways to work harder. They are looking for ways to exit the equation. They don't want to be the faucet. They want to own the lake. And until you understand this fundamental chasm between making money and letting money be made, you will run in that wheel until your heart stops. You're probably thinking, but Charlie, I'm a high-paid specialist, not a laborer. This is exactly where your ego blinds you. A high salary is not an exit from the trap. It's just softer padding inside the cage. You can earn $10,000 a month or $50,000, but the mechanics remain the same. No labor, no money. Moreover, the more you earn through your labor, the stronger your chains become. You buy a more expensive house, a more expensive car, more expensive habits, and now you are obligated to turn the handle even faster just to maintain the pressure in the pipe. You become a hostage to your lifestyle. You think you own things? No, the things own you. The mortgage owns your future. The lease owns your present. And your boss owns your sanity. You're a hamster proud that its wheel is gold-plated, but it's still running to nowhere. But let's go even deeper, to the point where it gets truly terrifying. You think you're the protagonist of your own life? In the model of salaried labor, you are an NPC, a non-player character in someone else's quest. Your employer doesn't hire you to make you rich. He hires you to make him rich. You are the fuel in his engine. You burn so his car can move forward, and when you burn out, when your resource is exhausted, you will simply be replaced by a new battery. That's not cruelty, it's business. It's arithmetic. On the balance sheet, you are a liability. Your salary is an expense that any competent manager seeks to reduce. You are fighting a system that is programmed to exploit you. And you hope to win? That's like trying to beat the casino while playing by its rules. The house always wins because the house owns the table. You're just sitting at it as long as you have chips. Do you feel that chill? That's the realization of vulnerability. You are one bad conversation with your boss away from bankruptcy, one industry crisis away from poverty. You've built a sandcastle and the tide is coming in. Most people deal with this fear through denial. They say, "It won't happen to me, I'm irreplaceable." The graveyards are full of irreplaceable people. The world turned before you and will turn after you. Your irreplaceability is a myth you tell yourself at bedtime, so you don't go mad with terror. But there is another way, a way that requires you to kill the mercenary within you and give birth to an owner. A way that requires admitting that your current strategy is a suicide mission. Do you want to get a paycheck without showing up to work? It sounds like magic, a fairy tale for the lazy, and that's exactly how scammers on the internet sell it to you. But I am telling you, it is possible, it is real, but it isn't magic. It's engineering. It's building a financial dam that will generate electricity forever, regardless of whether you are asleep or awake. But to build that dam, you have to stop carrying water in buckets. You have to stop spending everything you earn to maintain the illusion of success. You have to become boring, calculating, and ruthless toward your own weaknesses. Are you ready to find out how to do it? Or would you rather close your eyes, go back to your faucet, and hope the water never runs out? Because, believe me, one day it will. And when it does, you will remember this conversation. You will remember that you had a choice, and you are making that choice right now. The world you live in has gone mad. It has turned into a giant neon-lit circus where clowns sell you tickets to paradise at half price. And you, blinded by the thirst for easy money, line up to hand them your last savings. You open social media and see 20-year-old gurus standing in front of rented supercars, screaming in your face that wealth is easy, that it's a matter of luck, that you just need to buy the right cryptocurrency, invest in a hot startup, or find a secret scheme on a marketplace, and by next Tuesday, you'll be sipping cocktails on your own yacht. And you believe them. You believe because you want to believe. Your greed switches off your critical mind, and you start to think that economic laws that have worked for thousands of years have suddenly been waived just for you. But let me tell you a truth that will sound like metal scraping on glass. That is a lie for idiots. That isn't investing. That is a casino where you aren't the player, but the chip being moved across the table by real predators. You're looking for magic. You're looking for a money button. But in finance, magic is just a euphemism for fraud. Real wealth, the kind that doesn't vanish at the first hint of a crisis, is boring. It is incredibly, mind-numbingly unbearably boring. It is slow, like the growth of an oak tree. It smells of archival dust, the ink of annual reports, and dry, emotionless arithmetic. And that is exactly why you ignore it. You walk past real gold because it doesn't glitter, and you chase pyrite because it sparkles in the sun. Hear me, the only mathematically proven way to receive money without working is to own a piece of a real, boring, profitable business that produces goods people need every day and which shares that profit with you. This is called dividends. And the moment I say that word, I see your eyes go dim. I hear the disappointed groan of your inner gambler. But Charlie, dividends are only 3 or 4% a year. That's pennies. Inflation will eat more than that. I need 100%. I need to double my capital in a month. And right here, at this very point, you fail the intelligence test. You sign the confession of your total financial incompetence. You look at the figure 4% and you see too little. I look at the same figure and I see eternity. You think yield is the most important thing? That's an amateur's mistake. The most important thing is survivability. You want 100% profit tomorrow? Go to a casino. Put it all on red. You have a chance. But you also have a massive chance of leaving without your pants. I don't play games where I can lose my pants. I'm offering you a path where you own the casino itself. You think 4% is slow? Let's do the math. If you reinvest those dividends, if you let compound interest do its work, in 20 years, those pennies turn into an avalanche that sweeps away everything in its path. But you can't see 20 years. Your planning horizon ends on Friday night. You want to be rich fast? Fast is a synonym for risky. And risky, in the long run, always turns into zero. You think you're an investor when you buy shares of a trendy tech company that doesn't earn a cent but promises to change the world? You aren't an investor. You're a speculator. You're hoping there's a bigger fool who will buy that wrapper from you for more than you paid. It's the greater fool theory. But what happens when the fools run out? The music stops, and you're left with a chair that has no legs. A dividend strategy is the antidote to this disease. When you buy a dividend stock, you don't care about the ticker price. You don't care what the crowd thinks. You don't care about fashions or trends. You bought the cow for the milk, not to sell it to the butcher. If the market closes tomorrow for 5 years, you keep getting checks. Your income doesn't depend on the market's opinion. It depends on whether people brush their teeth, buy food, and gas up their cars. That is reality. Your 10x gains on crypto are a hallucination. And here is the turn that should make you feel uncomfortable. You don't despise dividends because they are small. You despise them because they require you to kill your ego. Dividends don't give you bragging rights at a party. You can't tell your friends, I made 500% on this coin. You have to say, I received the quarterly report from Coca-Cola and they raised the payout by 2 cents. That doesn't sound cool. It sounds like something a retiree would say. But do you know who laughs last? The one who receives those checks while his cool friends lose their jobs, their startups go bust, and their crypto wallets are hacked. The arithmetic is simple and cruel. If you don't find a way to earn while you sleep, you will work until you die. There is no third option. There is no middle ground. Either your money works for you 24/7, without smoke breaks or weekends, or you work for the money, selling your health for paper. You think you have a choice? You have no choice. The inflation we talked about is the wolf chasing you. If you stop, it eats you. If you just run, work, you will get tired. and it will eat you. The only way to save yourself is to build a carriage that moves on its own. Dividends are the wheels of that carriage. At first, they creak. At first, they move slowly. You have to push this carriage uphill, and you sweat, and your neighbors laugh at you as they fly past in their leased Ferraris. But the moment comes, and it comes as inevitably as the sunrise, when you reach the crest of the hill. And after that, the carriage moves on its own. It gains speed. The inertia of capital becomes an irresistible force, and at that moment, you look down at those who laughed and see that their Ferraris have crashed in the ditch because they ran out of fuel, active income, while your boring, creaky wagon carries you toward absolute freedom. Are you still looking for a secret ingredient? Do you think I'm hiding the real mystery from you? Here it is, and you won't like it. The secret is that there is no secret. There is only discipline and time. You have to learn to love boredom. You have to learn to derive pleasure not from winning the lottery, but from predictability. You have to become the most boring person in the room, getting rich quietly while everyone else is getting poor loudly. Are you ready to accept that role? Are you ready to give up the adrenaline for the result? Most of you will say no. You'll say, I want the drive. And that is exactly why you will always be poor. The market is a mechanism for transferring money from the driven guys to boring old men like me. We sit on the riverbank and wait for the corpses of your deposits to float by. And believe me, the river never runs empty. But here's the scariest part. You think dividends are just money. No. Dividends are the concentrated labor of other people. It is the sweat of thousands of workers, the sleepless nights of managers, the genius of engineers. All of it is converted into profit and sent to your account simply by right of ownership. It is a legal form of exploitation in its purest form. You don't want to be exploited? Then become the exploiter. Buy a share. Stop being a resource and become a beneficiary. Does that sound cynical? Yes, but capitalism isn't a charity ball. It's a jungle. And in the jungle, you either eat or you get eaten. A dividend strategy is a way to take a place at the top of the food chain without shedding your own blood. But for that, you need to stop believing in fairy tales about quick success and start respecting the power of slow, relentless accumulation. Are you capable of that? Or is your ego too big to pick up the pennies that make up millions? I know what you're thinking right now. I can literally hear that tired, irritated groan escaping your chest as you look at the screen of your phone, which you bought on credit. Your brain, that lazy lawyer of your poverty, has already started drafting its defense speech to protect your inaction from my brutal truth. You sit there and tell yourself, but Charlie, you're an old billionaire. You're out of touch with reality. You don't know how ordinary people live. I don't have money to buy shares in Coca-Cola, Chevron, or Johnson & Johnson. I can barely make ends meet. I have to pay for the apartment, for food, for the kids' school. I don't have spare thousands of dollars to play your real-life Monopoly game. Do you believe that? Do you truly believe your problem is a lack of money? Let me rip that victim mask off you and show you what lies beneath. And I warn you, the sight will be disgusting, because you will see not a victim of circumstances, but a voluntary accomplice to your own robbery. You are lying. You have money, and I can prove it without looking into your wallet, simply by observing your life from the outside. The problem isn't that you don't have money. The problem is that you suffer from a severe form of financial schizophrenia. You identify as a consumer, not a capitalist. You think you don't have money for Coca-Cola stock? Open your refrigerator. What's in there? A red can with white lettering? You found the money to buy the product, but you say you don't have money to buy the producer. Do you see the absurdity of this? Every time you buy a can of soda, every time you gas up your car, every time you buy a new iPhone, something monstrous happens that you don't notice. You take money earned with your sweat and blood and voluntarily, with a smile on your face, hand it to me. Yes, to me. Because I own shares in those companies. I am standing on the right side of the counter. You are standing on the side where the sheep get sheared. You think corporations are evil monsters draining your resources. That's childish nonsense. Corporations are simply mechanisms. You yourself, with your own hands, feed this monster, and then you complain that it grew so large. You are the fuel. You are the battery. You work 40 hours a week to get a paycheck, and then you go to the store and give that paycheck to the very people who own the world. It's a closed loop, a perfect prison where the prisoner pays for the upkeep of his own cell. You say, I don't have money to invest, but you have money for a new phone that costs $1,000. You carry $1,000 in your pocket that is rotting. In 2 years, that phone will be worth $200. In 5 years, $0. You bought a liability that pulls you to the bottom. If you had taken that same $1,000 and bought Apple stock, you would have hired the smartest engineers in the world to work for you. You would have stopped being a user and become a beneficiary. But you chose to be a user. You chose a shiny toy over freedom. That isn't poverty. That is economic suicide committed for the sake of flexing. And here is the twist that should make your head spin. Do you think you're just buying things? No. You are financing my retirement. Every time you stand in line at Starbucks and pay $5 for a coffee, you aren't just drinking coffee. You are sending a microtransaction to my brokerage account in the form of a dividend. I sit in my chair, drinking my cheap tea, and I get richer because millions like you decided they needed to drink expensive coffee. You are my employees who pay me for the right to work. Sound cynical? Sound cruel? Welcome to the real world. Here, there are only two types of people: those who own assets and those who provide the yield of those assets through their consumption. You can be offended by me all you want, but until you cross to the other side of the barricade, you will keep losing. You think it takes millions to become an owner? That's another lie they fed you so you wouldn't even try. You don't need millions. You need the discipline not to buy trash you don't need. You look at your neighbor who bought a new car on credit and think, now that's the life. I look at him and see an idiot who signed a 5-year slavery contract for a piece of iron that is rusting. You can buy one share, one. It costs less than your Friday dinner, but that one share is your first brick in the wall separating you from poverty. You say, one share won't change anything. You're wrong. One share changes everything. It changes your identity. The moment you receive your first 50 cents in dividends, money for which you didn't get off the couch, didn't humiliate yourself before a boss, and didn't spend your time, a revolution occurs in your brain. You realize the system can be hacked. You realize money can be born from money, not from your health. But you're afraid to take that step. Why? Because it requires you to kill the consumer within. You'll have to walk past the shop window and say, no. You'll have to walk around with an old phone while everyone around you is showing off new ones. You'll have to look poor in the eyes of the crowd to actually become rich. It hurts. Your ego will scream. Your ego wants recognition here and now, but your ego is your enemy. It wants you to look rich while you get poorer every day. You trade stocks that would feed you and your children forever for rags that will go out of style in a season. You trade eternity for a moment. That is the deal of an addict, not an investor. You think I want to deprive you of the joy of life? You think life is consumption? What a pathetic philosophy. Life is creation and freedom. Consumption is merely a life support function that marketers have turned into a cult. You pray in the temple of consumption, sacrificing your future. I'm suggesting you become an atheist in that temple. Stop being a milch cow for corporations. Become their partner. This doesn't require genius. It requires anger, a healthy, cold anger at the fact that you are being used. Look at your receipts for the last month. Look at this mountain of trash you bought. That isn't just money. Those are pieces of your freedom that you gave to strangers. You could have bought freedom, but you bought comfort. And now that comfort is suffocating you. Do you still think you have no choice? That the system is too strong? The system is neutral. The stock market is the greatest tool for the democratization of wealth in history. It is open to everyone. It doesn't care who you are, what your skin color is, or who your parents are. If you have $50, you can become a co-owner of the most powerful company in the world. You can stand shoulder to shoulder with the Rockefellers and the Buffetts. But you don't do it. You walk past the door labeled owners and go through the door labeled staff and clients. Why? Because there, behind the owner's door, there is no music or fireworks. It's quiet. It's boring. You have to wait. And you are a child of the TikTok era. You don't know how to wait. You need dopamine right now. And for that weakness, you pay with your life. So, who are you really? Are you the one who milks or the one being milked? You can lie to me, you can lie to your friends, but your bank account doesn't lie. If it doesn't have dividend inflows, it means you are a resource. You are the feed base. And until you realize this humiliating fact, until you are nauseated by your own financial helplessness, you won't move. You will continue to look for excuses, saying you have no money, while your money sits in the cash registers of the corporations I own shares in. Thank you for that. But maybe it's time to stop being such a generous sponsor of my wealth and start sponsoring your own. The strategy I'm about to tell you is so offensively simple that your sophisticated mind, used to looking for complex schemes and secret conspiracies, will likely reject it as something unworthy of your attention. That will be the final, fatal mistake you make before sinking permanently into the abyss of financial non-existence. Are you expecting an alchemist's formula from me? Are you waiting for me to give you the name of a secret stock that will grow 1,000-fold overnight? If so, you are a child who believes in the tooth fairy, and I am not here to tell bedtime stories. I am here to wake you up with a bucket of ice water. The strategy that made me, Warren, and thousands of others rich, people whose names you have never heard because they don't scream about their wealth on Instagram, is called the snowball. And it is the only strategy that works with the inevitability of gravity. But this strategy has one side effect you likely won't be able to stomach. It requires you to become the most boring person in the graveyard of broken hopes that is the stock market. You need to start buying companies that make speculators' jaws ache with boredom. You need to buy businesses that are so predictable they seem dead. I'm talking about companies that sell toothpaste, laundry detergent, gasoline, soda, and toilet paper. You think that isn't sexy? You're right. It isn't sexy. It's profitable. These companies, the dividend aristocrats, were paying dividends when your parents were in school. They're paying them now, and they'll be paying them when your grandchildren grow old. Why? Because even during a nuclear war, a plague epidemic, or an alien invasion, people will still brush their teeth and flush the toilet. This is the base. This is the foundation of civilization. You buy these stocks, and you become the owner of that base. But that is only the beginning. That is only the first step, where 90% of beginners stumble because they receive their first dividends and commit a crime. Here is the turn that separates the rich from the poor. When you receive dividends, your inner consumer screams, "Hooray, free money, let's go buy beer." And if you listen to that voice, you kill your snowball before it even has a chance to form. The secret isn't in receiving dividends. The secret is in not spending them. You take that money, those measly pennies, as it seems to you, and you buy nothing with them. You grit your teeth, you suppress the urge to reward yourself, and you use that money to buy even more of those same boring stocks. Do you understand what happens at that moment? You trigger a chain reaction. Your money starts having children. Those children, the new shares, start bringing in their own dividends. And you reinvest them again. Now you have the grandchildren of your money, and they start working too. This is an army that multiplies by division, and every new soldier immediately falls into line and begins digging trenches for your financial freedom. Do you think that's easy? It is hellishly difficult. For the first few years, you will feel like Sisyphus pushing a rock up a mountain. You will save money, you will reinvest dividends, and your capital will grow at the speed of a snail crawling up Mount Fuji. Your neighbors will buy new cars on credit. Your friends will brag about lucky sports bets or cryptocurrency gains. They will laugh at you. Look, he saves on everything, and he only has $5,000 in his account. And at that moment, you will want to quit. You will want to scream, "To hell with this, I want to live now too." And that will be the exact moment your fate is decided. If you give up, you prove that you are mediocre. But if you endure, if you swallow that mockery and keep pushing your tiny, pathetic snowball, a miracle will occur. What Einstein called the eighth wonder of the world. A tipping point will come. Usually it happens around the 7th or 10th year. You will suddenly notice that your snowball has become heavy. It has become huge. And most importantly, it has rolled over the crest of the hill. You no longer need to push it. It starts to roll by itself. The gravity of compound interest catches it. The dividends become so large that they buy new shares faster than you can earn at your main job. Your portfolio begins to grow by the amount of your annual salary, simply because it exists. It is an avalanche. It sweeps away everything in its path. Your electric bills, your mortgage, your debts, your need to wake up to an alarm clock. You stand and watch this massive force race down, gaining mass, and you realize it can no longer be stopped. You have created a perpetual motion machine. Do you think that's luck? No. It is a mathematical inevitability for those who know how to wait. But you are afraid. You think, what if companies stop paying? Aristocrats have been raising dividends for 25, 40, 50 years straight. They survived the 2008 crisis, the dot-com crash, the inflation of the 80s, the Cold War. Their business model is survival. They aren't trying to change the world. They're trying to profit from it. And while you are looking for the next Amazon, you're missing dozens of companies that have simply been printing money for decades. Do you want to risk everything for a chance to win the lottery? Or do you want to guaranteed become rich, but slowly? Most choose the lottery and lose. I'm suggesting you become the casino owner. In a casino, there are no lucky days. In a casino, there is statistics. And statistics are always on the side of the house. Be the house. But there is another aspect of this strategy that the textbooks keep quiet about because it doesn't concern money, but your soul. When you launch a snowball, you change. You stop being dependent. You stop fearing being fired. Your boss can yell at you, can threaten you, but you look at him and smile because you know behind you stands an army of thousands of shares working for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without sick leave, without vacations, without complaints about burnout. This army feeds you. This army protects you. And this army is more loyal to you than any human being. You can get sick. You can lose your memory. You can fall into a coma. The dividends will still hit the account. This is the only form of immortality available in the financial world. Do you think you need a lot of brains for this? No. You need a lot of character. You need the ability to be boring when everyone around you is going mad with greed or fear. When the market falls and everyone screams, "Sell!" you should yawn and buy more because your snowball has become cheaper to maintain. When the market rises and everyone screams, "Buy!" you should just sit on your hands and let the dividends reinvest. It is the strategy of a sloth winning against a cheetah, because the cheetah died of exhaustion halfway through, and the sloth simply never stopped. Are you ready to be a sloth? Are you ready to be boring? Are you ready to endure the crowd's mockery, knowing that in 20 years you will be buying their houses for cash when they go bankrupt? It is a cruel game. There is no room for emotion here. Cold calculation rules the day. You must kill the hope for a miracle and replace it with a belief in arithmetic. You must stop looking at stock prices and start looking at cash flow. If a cow gives milk, what does it matter how much she is worth on the meat market today? You aren't going to slaughter her for meat. You are going to drink the milk and make cheese. A dividend strategy is farming in a world of hunters. Hunters run around, risk their lives, sometimes bring home big prey, and sometimes die of hunger. A farmer simply goes out into the field every day. It isn't heroic. They won't make a movie about it, but the farmer is always full, and the farmer owns the land. Who do you want to be? An eternally hungry fortune hunter or a well-fed landowner watching his crop grow on its own? The choice seems obvious, but for some reason, 9 out of 9% of people choose the spear over the plow. Why? Because the plow is hard. The plow takes time. The plow is responsibility. And you fear responsibility more than poverty. Or am I wrong? Prove me wrong. Start pushing your snowball today. Remember one thing you'll never be told in the HR department and will never see in a corporate newsletter of congratulations, because this truth destroys the very foundation of the hierarchy upon which the modern world rests. Dividends are the only form of income in the known universe for which you do not have to humiliate yourself. You might think I'm using too strong a word, but let's be honest. Isn't it humiliating to ask for permission to go to the doctor? Isn't it humiliating to coordinate your vacation dates with a person you might not even respect? Isn't it humiliating to sell your best years, your health, and your nervous system for a fixed sum that will never cover the damage done to your body by stress? A salary is compensation for the fact that you gave up your dream for someone else's. Dividends are the tribute the world pays you because you showed wisdom, patience, and courage when others showed stupidity, greed, and fear. This is money that comes to you not because you sweat, but because you thought. Do you feel the difference? It's the difference between the sweat of a slave and the signature of an emperor. You probably think the goal of a dividend strategy is to buy a yacht or a house on the French Riviera. If you think that, you are still thinking like a poor person who has come into money. The goal of this strategy is not consumption. The goal is the ability to say no. It is the most expensive and rarest privilege in the world. When your dividend flow covers your basic expenses, food, housing, bills, something magical happens, something that changes your brain chemistry forever. You come to work, and your boss starts yelling at you or demanding the impossible or threatening to fire you. Before, you would have tucked your head into your shoulders. You would have been afraid. You would have kept quiet because the ghost of hunger was standing behind you. No, now, with an army of assets at your back, you look at him and feel no fear. You feel pity. You realize he is shouting because he is a hostage himself, while you are a free person who is just visiting. You can get up, put your badge on the table, and walk away, and your standard of living will not drop by a single cent. That is what dividends are. It isn't money in an account. It is a steel rod in your spine. But here is the plot twist that should make you rethink your role in the family. Do you think you're a good provider because you work hard? Do you think you're taking care of your children because you buy them expensive toys with your salary? That is a dangerous illusion. If something happens to you tomorrow, an accident, illness, burnout, the money flow stops. Your family depends on your pulse. That isn't care. That is Stone Age risk management. True care is creating a system that will feed your children even if you aren't there. Dividends don't die. Coca-Cola stock doesn't get cancer. Chevron's oil rigs don't go into depression. They keep pumping profit regardless of the owner's biological state. If you truly love your family, you must stop being the sole source of their survival and build an autonomous wealth generator. Stop being proud of how hard you work. Start being proud of how intelligently you own. Are you still looking for the money button? Still hoping there's an easy way? Let me disappoint you one last time, and let this disappointment be your salvation. There is no easy way. There is only the path of discipline. You will have to tear money away from yourself today when you want to spend it. You will have to wear an old coat when you want a new one. You will have to endure the mockery of fools who live on credit. That is the price of admission. But the reward is a life where you don't have to look at price tags in the grocery store, a life where Monday is no different from Saturday, a life where you own your time 100%. You can spend your life working for money like a hamster in a wheel, hoping the wheel doesn't break. Or you can spend 10 years building a machine that prints money and spend the rest of your life watching it work. The difference is in one decision made today, not tomorrow, today. You think you have time to think about it? There is no time. The inflation we talked about is already eating your savings. The market is moving. Companies are paying dividends right now, but not to you. They are paying them to me. They are paying them to those who dared. You are standing on the platform and the train is leaving. You can jump into the last carriage, or you can stay on the platform and wave your handkerchief, telling yourself stories that Investing is risky. Do you know what real risk is? Risk is waking up at 70 and realizing you lived someone else's life, following someone else's orders, and you have nothing left but a Best Employee of the Month certificate from 30 years ago. That is a catastrophe. Buying shares in a reliable company and holding them for life, that isn't risk. That is common sense. I'm not calling on you to take my word for it. I'm an old cynic. I don't need your faith. I'm calling on you to believe the facts. Look at the Forbes list. How many people are there who got rich on a salary? 0. How many people are there who own assets? Everyone. You want to argue with statistics? Please do. But statistics always win. You can be smarter than me, more talented than me, but if you're standing on an escalator going down, salaried work, and I am standing on an escalator going up, owning capital, I will pass you even if I stand still and you are running. Stop running against physics. Get on the right escalator. Stop looking for a job. Start looking for assets. Stop accumulating paper. Start collecting shares in business. And now comes the moment of truth, the moment we separate the dreamers from the doers, the adults from the children. I want to ask you one question, and the answer will show you your true place in the capitalism food chain. Don't try to dodge. Don't try to make excuses. Arithmetic doesn't accept excuses. Tell me honestly, without any fantasies or rounding up, exactly how many dollars, cents, or any other currency dropped into your account last month while you were asleep. Not for work. Not for selling an old sofa on eBay. Specifically passive income from assets you own? If your answer is 0, you are in mortal danger, even if you don't feel it. You are a tightrope walker without a safety net, and the wind is picking up. If your answer is $10, you're on the right path. Don't stop. If your answer is $1,000, you're beginning to understand the taste of freedom. I want you to write that number in the comments. Write, my passive income for last month was 0, or my passive income was $5. Let it be a public confession. Let that 0 burn your eyes. Let it make you angry, because only a healthy anger at your own inaction can force you to move from a dead stop. Let's see who here is building freedom and who is just waiting for a retirement that will consist of cat food and memories. I'm waiting for your number. And remember, while you are writing this comment, someone else is receiving your dividends.